With the Prime Minister setting out his roadmap of how to lift the lockdown and get the economy moving again in England, Professor Michael Ben-Gad from City University in London looks at the impact the coronavirus has had on the economy.
Most European economies have seen quarter 1 output drop by about 4.5 to 6%. That is not on an annualized basis. So I expect the UK to be more or less on the lower end, so perhaps about 4.5%. And then there's probably going to be a much steeper drop, perhaps 25% in the second quarter. I should say that it's slightly counterintuitive, but keep in mind that if there's a 25% contraction followed by a 25% rebound, that still leaves the economy at the end of that process about 6% smaller than it was before. Now, the Office of Budget Responsibility is working on the assumption that the economy will contract by about 13%. I would guess that, again, if there aren't any more lockdowns, that is slightly too pessimistic, but not by much. So if you want a general rule of thumb, this crisis will be in nearly every dimension, probably slightly more than twice as bad as the financial crisis 12 years ago.
As the Chancellor announces more details on the job retention scheme, Professor Ben-Gad says that government support can't be viable forever and some businesses cannot survive.
Like everything else, the cheap loans and guarantees, the idea is to prevent otherwise healthy companies from being dragged through the bankruptcy process and firing their workers because of short-term liquidity problems. You know, if you think about a company that has workers, it has capital that is perhaps bespoke for the kind of things that they do, it would be a terrible shame if all of that is lost because of something that is ultimately temporary. However, this cannot go on forever. Even in good times, some businesses fail. And in the wake of the pandemic, lots of businesses are likely to no longer be viable.